Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I added every team's best player onto their current day roster. We're going to sim one season and see which team ends up being the best. Alright, so we're about to go through every team. Just know, I went with 2Ks overall for most of the choices I made on who was the actual best player for each team. And the only rule that we had is that they cannot currently be playing. For the 76ers, we got Moses Malone. For the Bucks, we got Kareem. For the Bulls, we got Michael Jordan. For Cleveland, we got Mark Price because, again, they can't have LeBron. For the Celtics, we added Larry Bird. For the Clippers, we added Bob McAdoo. For the Grizzlies, Marc Gasol. For the Hawks, I ended up going with Bob Pettit. Could have been Dominique. I just feel like a power forward kind of like fits them more. I guess I could have just moved Dominique over to the power forward, but I decided to add Bob Pettit. For the Heat, we got D Wade. For the Hornets, we got Glenn Rice. Could have been Kemba, but Glenn Rice is actually an overall higher, and he actually fits the team better than Kemba would have. Utah, we added John Stockton. Feel like it would have been a better addition over Karl Malone. The Kings, we got the Big O. The Knicks, I added Walt Frazier. Patrick Ewing probably would have been a better addition to the team, but Walt Frazier is actually 2 overalls higher than Patrick Ewing in 2K, so I went with Walt Frazier. Oh, and by the way, if you see any positions that don't really match up, it's because I already changed everybody to make sure that each lineup is as good as it could be. So Walt Frazier was actually a point guard, but I moved him to shooting guard for the Knicks because obviously they already have Jalen Brunson. For the Lakers, I could have chose between Magic and Kobe. I ended up going with Kobe, even though honestly, if I had to choose, I think Shaq probably would have been the best player to add. But 2K has Shaq as a 98 and they have Kobe as a 99. So Kobe Bryant is who we went with. The Magic, we added T-Mac. The Mavs, we added Dirk. The Nets, we added Julius Erving. The Nuggets added David Thompson. The Pacers added Reggie Miller. And now Reggie Miller actually isn't in 2K. So this is a Reggie Miller that somebody made. So if he ends up not being very good, that's not on me. Somebody made this version of him. But he's at 94 overall. Probably should be a little higher than that. For the Pelicans, I added Baron Davis. For the Pistons, I added Isaiah Thomas. For the Raptors, we added Vince Carter. For the Rockets, we added Hakeem. For the Spurs, we added Tim Duncan. For the Suns, we added Charles Barkley. Again, also not in the game, so this is a user-created Charles Barkley. For the Thunder, we added Gary Payton. For the Timberwolves, we added Kevin Garnett. For the Trailblazers, we added Clyde Drexler. For the Warriors, we added Wilt. And finally, for the Wizards, we added Wes Unseld. All right, and now we're going to go through the lineups real quick. As you guys can see on the left, that is what the lineup is going to look like. So the Sixers, now they have Moses Malone to play with Embiid. That's a pretty good lineup. And injuries are off, by the way. So in real life, today, actually, Embiid is out for the rest of the season. There's no injuries, so Embiid will be fully healthy. For the Bucks, Giannis and Kareem is going to be an insane front court. And you even got Dame to even spread the floor a little bit. Yeah, that's probably going to be insane. The Bulls added Michael Jordan. The Bulls just aren't a very good team. They're probably not going to have that much of a chance. The Cavs, again, kind of struggling. They couldn't add LeBron, but the Cavs already had a pretty good roster beforehand, so they just get deeper. They might still be pretty good. The Celtics added Larry Bird. It could have been Larry Bird or Bill Russell, but I feel like Larry Bird fit fine. And Bill Russell also isn't actually in the game, so it was just easier for me. This team also looks absolutely insane. The Clippers added Bob McAdoo. I feel like the Clippers also just aren't like too good of a team. Probably still a playoff team, but I don't think they can go all the way. The Grizzlies added Marc Gasol. They have a good big three, but I also don't see them going all the way. There's much better teams. The Hawks added Bob Pettit. This team could be decent, maybe a playoff team, but not great. The Heat added D Wade. They just traded away Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler was still on the team, they would look a lot better, I think. The Hornets added Glenn Rice. Again, another team that might end up sneaking into a playoff spot, but not great. The Jazz added John Stockton. Another team, not great. The Kings added Oscar Robertson, and this team might be a sneaky team. They're deep. They have Malik Monk off the bench, and I like how their team's built. You know, you got some spacing with Zach LaVine, Sabonis. Sabonis kind of just brings everything. Sleeper team. The Knicks added Walt Frazier. I don't know how Walt Frazier's gonna play in 2K because like the older players usually like struggle, but just based off overall, a great team. You got Bridges off the bench. Lakers. Now this is gonna be my favorite, I think, with Luka, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron. Three, not actual 99s, but pretty much 99 overalls. The Magic added T-Mac to this team. I think they'll be alright. I think they'll be a playoff team. Now the Mavs, I think, are also pretty nice with Kyrie, 80, and Dirk. That's definitely one of the better big threes that we got going on here. I really like the team. Unlike other teams, though, like the other spots are kind of weak. So we'll see how they end up. The Nets added Julius Irving. He doesn't have any help. His best player with him is Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson. Probably going to not be great. Nuggets added David Thompson, which I feel like kind of fits their team pretty nice. That team might be pretty good. The Pacers added Reggie Miller. I mean, they're a decent team in real life, so maybe adding Reggie Miller will just make them better. But I don't see them going all the way. The Pelicans added Baron Davis. Yeah, I don't really think that's going to help them too much. The Pistons added Isaiah Thomas. But again, compared to other teams, I don't know if they're the best. The Raptors added VC. They're also not a very good roster. Brandon Ingram's coming off the bench. I probably will fix that. I didn't see that earlier. The Rockets. This team is another sleeper team. Overall wise, they don't got it, but I feel like their team is built very well. Spurs. This is an interesting team to me. This is going to be another one of my... Maybe this isn't a sleeper, but I think this team is going to be really good with Chris Paul, De'Aaron Fox, and a front court of Tim Duncan and Wemby. Nobody is scoring in the paint. Not a single person. Then you got the Suns, also going to be a pretty good team here. They just have like superstars all over the place of Booker, Beal, Durant, and Barkley. Like, that is just insane. Beal's overall kind of fell off recently, but it's still Bradley Beal. The Thunder, I think, are going to be very good as well with Gary Payton and Shea. Steals, probably going to be top of the league. And again, their team is just built very well. And there's going to be no trades, by the way, just to point that out, because again, the Thunder could go trade for some better players, but not going to be happening in this video. Timberwolves, I like this team as well. Going to be a pretty good team with Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Kevin Garnett, Rudy Gobert. Going to be very good defensively. Trailblazers added Clyde Drexler. They could push for a playoff team. The Warriors with Steph Curry and Wilt Chamberlain, going to be insane. And they also have Jimmy Butler. They can go all the way. And finally, we got the Wizards. Added Wes Unseld, but again, their roster isn't too good. So I don't see them really making the push. But before we start simming and seeing what team is really the best, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Let's try to get 10 likes on this video. And also, we're almost to 70 subs, so if you guys want to be here before we hit 70, make sure you hit that sub button. Alright, first off, I think I want to sim just the first month of the year here. So we'll go through November. And we'll just see where teams are at early on. 76ers looking pretty good. Start off 14-14. Let's go through the full standings. The Sixers are the first team out east. Then you got the Bulls and the Hawks. The Bulls. Michael Jordan carrying the team. They're way better than I thought. Then you have the Knicks, the Bucks, Celtics, the Heat, and the Cavs are so far the playoff teams. Then at the bottom, you got the Pistons at 2-20. So this backcourt isn't really helping them out too much. The Wizards are still bad. And the Magic, there was just something about this Magic team I felt wasn't too good. And they're not. Out west, the Timberwolves actually have the best record in the league. This team is pretty good. They're at 16-3. Then you got the Spurs with that crazy front court. And you got the Warriors, which are top 3. And then you got the Kings with Oscar Robertson. You got the Mavs with Dirk. Clippers with Bob McAdoo. Clippers are better than I thought they were going to be to start the season. The Nuggets. And then you got the Rockets. The Lakers are the 9 seed right now. I mean, again, they have a big 3. I mean, they have 4 pretty good players, but the rest of their lineup isn't great. Then at the bottom here, you got Utah with 1 win. John Stockton's putting up 2.4 steals. The Suns are down here, which is surprising. And then you got the Pelicans that aren't very surprising. Right now, leading the league throughout the first month is still Shea with 30 points a game. Rebounds, Kevin Garnett's putting up 13.6. Then Tim Duncan. Jaden Dern's up here hanging. And assist-wise, you got Stockton, Harden, and Trae Young. Steals, John Stockton, D. Wade, and Gary Payton. A lot of the older players get a lot of steals. Well, that's where we stand after the first month of the season. We're going to sim all the way to All-Star break, and we're going to do another check-in to see where our teams are at. All right, here we are at the All-Star break. Let's see how much things have changed. The Hawks are now the first seed with Bob Pettit. Bob Pettit is hooping for them. 25 points per game for him. Then you got the Knicks at the 2 seed with Walt Frazier. He's putting up 20 points per game, 2.2 steals. Then you got the 76ers with Moses Malone. He's putting up 22 points per game for them. Then you got the Bucks with Kareem. He's also putting up 22 with 12 rebounds, a steal, and 2 blocks. Chicago, still the 5 seed. Jordan's putting up 27. He is carrying this team all the way up to the 5 seed. Pretty impressive. Then you got the Raptors, another team I didn't think was going to be too good. Vince Carter's dropping 24. Miami, D. Wade's dropping 22. And then you got Boston. Larry Bird's dropping 23, 8, and 7. A steal and a half. Then you got Brooklyn, who is the 9 seed. Better than I thought they were going to be. Julius Erving putting up 25 points per game. Just overall, he's playing great. Then you got Cleveland, a team I wasn't too sure about because, again, Mark Price was their best player because LeBron was not playing. And if they had LeBron, he'd fit right in here perfectly, and they would probably be the 1 seed. Then you got the Magic with T-Mac. They're not playing too good. I didn't think they were going to be that bad, but they are. Then you got the Hornets with Glenn Rice. He's playing pretty well, but they're still bad. The Pacers with Reggie Miller. I was also skeptical about this team. Let's look at the player built Reggie Miller, putting up 20 points per game. Shooting good from 3. Just not enough to really help them. Then you got Detroit with this backcourt. 20 points from Isaiah Thomas. Still not enough to make them very good. And the last team out east is this Wizards team. Wes Unseld. He would have to do way too much to carry that team. Then let's go look out west. The Timberwolves with the best record in the NBA by a good amount. With Kevin Garnett, he's putting up 24, 13 rebounds a game. He might be the MVP with those numbers. Then you got Dallas. This team I wasn't too sure about, but they're actually the number 2 seed. Dirk is putting up 25 points per game. The Kings was one of my sleeper teams. I told you guys I thought they were going to be pretty good. I just like how this team is built. Oscar Robinson is putting up 26.5 a game, 10 rebounds, 9.5 assists, a steal and a half. Yeah, I really like that team. Then you got the Spurs, was another team I really liked. Wemby and Tim Duncan doing their things, just really good defensively from Tim Duncan. He doesn't even have to score that much. I really like how this team is built too. I feel like Chris Paul is like the perfect point guard for this team. Then you got Golden State as the 5 seed. Steph Curry's putting up 28. Wilt Chamberlain's putting up 22. He's not putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers, but still pretty good. 2.6 blocks a game. Then you got Denver. David Thompson's putting up 20. The Clippers, Bob McAdoo putting up 30. That is not what I expected from Bob McAdoo. Even not really what I expected from this Clippers team to even be so far above 500. And then you got the Lakers team, which probably has been the biggest disappointment so far. With Luka, he's putting up 26. Kobe's putting up 23. And LeBron's putting up 22. Disappointing right now at the 8 seed. The Rockets were a team I thought were going to be better. Hakeem is doing his thing. I guess the overalls might be holding him back like we thought. The Thunder are a team that is very surprising. Gary Payton comes in and he does exactly what you expect him to do. And they're still struggling. Then you got the Suns, another team I thought was going to be pretty good. Charles Barkley's putting up 20 a game. Two blocks. I don't know where this team is really going wrong. Even Bradley Beal, his overall jumped. Then you got the Grizzlies. A little bit of a shocker here. I mean, Marc Gasol doesn't add like legend or like GOAT status to your team, but I think they would definitely make it better. Pelicans are here, about where I expected them. Baron Davis is dropping 18 a game. Then you got Portland with Clyde Drexler putting up 22 a game. And you got the Utah Jazz with John Stockton, still very, very bad. Still the worst record in the entire NBA. I'm going to save the other stats for the end of the season, and we'll see where everyone else is at. See who's leading the league and all the stats. But right now, let's see who the All-Stars are. Out east, you got Jordan, Wade, Bird, Kareem, Julius Erving, Tracy McGrady, Walt Frazier, Vince Carter, Bob Pettit, Moses Malone, Giannis, Isaiah Thomas. So Giannis is the only active player out east to make the All-Star team. Now we have out west, we got Oscar Robertson, Kobe, Kevin Garnett, Jokic, Dirk, Luka, Shea, Bob McAdoo, Hakeem, Tim Duncan, Wilt, Clyde Drexler, and that is it. So you have 3 players over here that are active for Jokic, Luka, and Shea. All active players over here out west. Anything interesting in the dunk contest? No. Glenn Rice is in the 3-point contest. Vince Carter is in the 3-point contest. Mark Price is in the 3-point contest. And even Oscar Robertson is in the 3-point contest. Something's clearly wrong with this build. This is a real 2K build, by the way. He shot 0% his whole career. I don't even know when the 3-point line was around, but definitely not back this far. And bro's shooting 42% from 3. And he's in the 3-point contest. Now we'll look at award races and see where that is stacking up so far through the season. Kevin Garnett, like I said, he is first right now on the MVP vote. Then you got Oscar Robinson. Then you got Bob Pettit, Jokic, Bob McAdoo. Now we're looking at 6th man of the year. A lot of these players are pushed to the bench. You got DeJounte Murray, Jaden Ivey, Brandon Ingram, Malik Monk, and RJ Barrett. Brandon Ingram should be starting, but I guess they don't want him to. Defensive player of the year, you got Michael Jordan, Wemby, Kevin Garnett, Evan Mobley, and Wilt Chamberlain. See that Spurs team? I can't wait till we're done and to look at their defensive stats. Because Wemby is 2nd in defensive player of the year, and they have Tim Duncan too. Like, I can't wait to look for that. And hey, even an old Chris Paul, he might be getting steals. Most improved, nothing out of the ordinary. Key clutch player of the year, Dirk, Trae Young, Kyrie, Jokic, Oscar Robinson. And that is it. All right, a lot of teams got to make some jumps. We'll see if Kevin Garnett could keep it up and win the MVP. And I'll see you guys at the end of the year. All right, here we are at the end of the season. Kevin Garnett does end up winning the MVP. 24 points a game, 13 rebounds, 5.5 assists, a steal and a half, and a block and a half. Kel'el Ware wins Rookie of the Year. DeJounte Murray ends up winning 6th Man of the Year. Michael Jordan does end up winning the Defensive Player of the Year with 26.5 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2.5 steals, and a block a game. Amen Thompson, Most Improved. Trae Young, Clutch Player of the Year. And Chris Finch with the Timberwolves wins 72 games, which would tie the Bulls and would be 2nd all time for the most wins in a season. All right, now we got All NBA first team. Kevin Garnett, Oscar Robertson, Luka, Jokic, and Bob McAdoo. Bob McAdoo, he was hooping. He was really trying to carry that Clippers team. We'll see if they made it. But Luka and Jokic, active players, still on the first team. All NBA second team, we got Bob Pettit, D. Wade, Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan. So no active players on the second team. And on the third team, we have Julius Erving, Shea, Tracy McGrady, Wemby, and Tim Duncan. So 2 active players on the third team. Then we got all defensive team with Michael Jordan, Wemby, Wes Unseld, Kevin Garnett, and Moses Malone. Then we have Evan Mobley, Hakeem, Wilt, Charles Barkley, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on all defensive second team. So here's what the playoffs are looking like so far. And now we'll go look at the actual standings and see where we're at. The New York Knicks ended up winning 57 games, ending the 1 seed out east. I kind of went over everyone else, so I'm not going to go through it again, but you guys can look. The Bulls fell off all the way to the 8th seed. We talked about that. Now the first team out ends up being the Orlando Magic with Tracy McGrady. He put up 26 points a game, 8 and almost 9 assists, a steal, and a block. Not enough to put this Magic team into the play-in. Then you got the Pacers, did not make the playoffs. This Reggie Miller created build, I just don't think was very good. Maybe if it was a better build, they would have actually made it. Then you got the Charlotte Hornets, are next out with Glenn Rice. He played pretty well, but again, I don't think this team would have been good enough compared to the other teams. Then you got the Pistons with Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas put up 20 points a game, almost 10 assists, almost 2 steals. Played pretty well, but again, not a very strong team. And then last out east is the Washington Wizards with the Wes Unseld. You just need a lot more than that if you want to end up being a playoff team with that roster. Now out west, the best team in the league, the Timberwolves, obviously has the 1 seed, winning 72 games this year. Then you got the Mavs, the Kings, you got everyone else. Then the first team not to make the postseason out west is the Phoenix Suns. This is very surprising to me. Again, must just be that this created Charles Barkley isn't very good. And they end up making it out. Very surprising. Then the Grizzlies, we talked about earlier. Marc Gasol, just not enough compared to the other superstars to make them a playoff team. Then you got the Pelicans with Baron Davis. This kind of makes sense to me. Again, he's not putting up numbers like any of the other GOATs are. So it makes sense. And then the Trailblazers with Clyde Drexler. Also just not a very good overall roster. And finally, the last team and the worst team out west is the Utah Jazz. I didn't really expect them to be this bad. I guess John Stockton didn't score enough points for them, and they end up being the worst team out west and the worst team in the entire league. Here are the league leaders. Bob McAdoo ends up scoring the most points with 30 a game. Then you got Anthony Edwards, and then you got Jalen Brunson. Rebounds a game, still Kevin Garnett, Wes Unseld, and Wilt Chamberlain. Assist a game was James Harden, John Stockton, and Oscar Robertson. Steals, Michael Jordan with 2.5, almost 2.5 for D Wade, and 2.2 for Gary Payne. I'm telling you, these all-time players, they get steals. Then blocks a game was Evan Mobley with 2.6. That is insane. Chet with 2.5, Wilt with 2.5. That is insane numbers. And finally, I want to look at the team stats. Points per game ended up being the 76er team. Surprising, to be honest. This is not the team I thought would be scoring the most points per game, but they end up putting up the most. Second is the Timberwolves. Makes sense. Kevin Garnett was putting up 24, and Anthony Edwards was putting up almost 30. Then the Lakers also makes sense with Kobe, Luka, and LeBron. That would be the team I thought would have been first, but they end up not being. And the best defensive team in the league ends up being the Golden State Warriors. Wilt and Jimmy Butler, I guess, is all you need for a great defensive team. And don't forget, they have Draymond off the bench. Then you got the Timberwolves. Makes sense. Kevin Garnett and Rudy Gobert is an insane defensive front court. And you also have Anthony Edwards, who only getting 1.3 steals, but still. And then that Spurs team, who I thought was going to be the top with Tim Duncan and Wemby, end up being the third best defensive team. Point differential, the Timberwolves with 15.3, and then the Knicks with 10.3. But again, being 5 points up from number 2 is insane. The Timberwolves should really just blow every team out of these playoffs. All right, let's see who's going to end up winning these playing games and making it to real playoff spots. So first we have this Lakers team with Kobe versus this Nuggets team with David Robinson. Looking like it's a decently close game, but the Nuggets end up pulling it out. The Lakers do have another chance, but now the Nuggets will be going against the Dallas Mavericks. Then the next game we have is this Rockets Thunder game. We got the Thunder with Gary Payne. Then we got Hakeem with the Rockets, and the Rockets will be going on to go against the Lakers. Right now out east, we have Michael Jordan and the Bulls going against Kareem and the Bucks. Good lead for the Bucks here. We're going to need a big fourth quarter from the Bulls, and they end up not getting it done. Then we have the Cleveland Cavaliers with Mark Price versus the Heat with D Wade. But the Cavs are going to pull it out. All right, I accidentally simmed this game out west on accident. But the Lakers end up losing to the Rockets. So the LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Luka team doesn't even make the playoffs. And this Rockets team with Hakeem end up going against the 1-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves. Now out east, we have the Bulls versus the Cavs. And it looks like they're going to fight for a playoff spot, and they're going to get it. All right, let's go through all the matchups for round 1. It's 1 versus 8. We got the Hakeem Rockets going against the Kevin Garnett Timberwolves. Then this 4 versus 5 matchup, we got the Bob McAdoo Clippers going against the Wilt Chamberlain Warriors. Then we have the Oscar Robertson Kings versus against the Tim Duncan Spurs. Then this 2-7 matchup is the Dirk Mavericks versus the David Thompson Nuggets. Then out east, we have the Walt Frazier Knicks versus the Jordan Chicago Bulls. And then we have the Vince Carter Raptors versus the Larry Bird Celtics. And this game is already over, but it was the Julius Erving Nets versus the Moses Malone 76ers, and the Nets end up getting swept by the 76ers. And our last matchup here is the Kareem Bucks versus the Bob Pettit Hawks. So we already have some eliminations. The Timberwolves sweep the Rockets. Hakeem was not enough to end up beating this team. Anthony Edwards puts up 44 a game, and they'll be moving on. And you got the Clippers beating this Warriors team in 5 games. Very surprising. Wilt, only 19 points in the elimination game, and James Harden and Bob McAdoo both dropping 20 was enough, and they'll be going against each other in the next round. Any late series we got here? Going to be simming another game. I'm only going to be really tuning in the game 7s. We do have one here with the Kings and the Spurs. The Bucks end up getting eliminated. They lose to the Hawks. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, no longer in the playoffs, gets eliminated. Only puts up 12 points per game for their elimination game. Dame was trying him at 49. But Trae Young was just too much for them. So we have 3 game 7s. First, we have this Spurs Kings game. Oscar Robertson versus Tim Duncan. Going to 7 games here. We're going to simcast it. Big first quarter for the Kings. Can the Spurs come back and make it a close game? Looks like no. The Spurs with Tim Duncan and Wemby are going to be eliminated. And Oscar Robertson is going to be moving on. Puts up almost a 34-point triple-double with 4 steals. And Tim Duncan with 14. Wemby with 13 just did not show up in that elimination game. Then we have the 1 versus 8 seed. Michael Jordan, he's trying to make a push. Can Jalen Brunson and Walt Frazier keep this 8 seed team where everyone thinks they belong? And it looks like the Knicks are going to eliminate them. Walt Frazier ends up putting up 38 points in this game 7. Michael Jordan put up 34. But again, the roster kind of just let him down. And our final game 7 is the David Thompson Nuggets versus the Dirk Mavericks. They'll be eliminating David Thompson and the Denver Nuggets. Big 3, big 4, just really hooped and put them away with a big blowout victory. David Thompson only put up 10 points in the elimination game, putting up 4 and 14. But now we have some new matchups. We got the Timberwolves versus the Clippers. And again, this is the Bob McAdoo Clippers versus the Kevin Garnett Timberwolves. Then we have the Oscar Robertson Kings versus the Dirk Mavericks. And then we have the Larry Bird Celtics versus the Walt Frazier Knicks. And then finally, we have the Bob Pettit Hawks versus the Moses Malone 76ers. See if any of these games go up to game 7. The 76ers end up eliminating the Hawks, and the Timberwolves end up eliminating the Clippers. Let's see how the teams played in the elimination game. Bob McAdoo shot pretty efficient, didn't get any free throws, and Anthony Edwards ends up putting up 43 points, and KG puts up 26, 15, and 7, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Hey, you can argue this game might have been rigged. Look at the free throw difference. Oh my god. And over here, 76ers eliminated the 2 seed Hawks. Moses Malone drops 32, Embiid 24, Paul George 20. Trae Young drops 28, and Bob Pettit only puts up 13, 2 and 5 in the last game of the season. We have a game 7 out west, and the New York Knicks end up getting eliminated by the Boston Celtics. Larry Bird puts up 34 and 14. Jaylen Brown with 29. Kristaps with 24. Jalen Brunson, Walt Frazier, Mikal Bridges played pretty good. It was a close game, 144 to 140. Just couldn't play good defense. And we have a game 7 down here. Big O versus Dirk. One of them are about to be eliminated, and one of them is about to move on to play the 72-10 Timberwolves. Good first 3 quarters for the Mavericks. It's still decently close, but it looks like the Mavs are going to pull it out, and they will be going on to go against this KG Timberwolves team. So out west, we have 1 versus 2, KG versus Dirk. Now east, we have Moses Malone versus Larry Bird, 3 versus 4. Which team will end up making the finals? 2-0 for the Timberwolves. Both games 2-1. Both games 2-2. The Celtics end up eliminating Sixers, and the Timberwolves end up eliminating the Mavs. So KG and Larry Bird end up being your East and Western Conference MVPs. Let's look at the final stats here. Dirk put up 26 and 10, 5 for 6 from 3. Really tried to bring his team to the finals, but they couldn't force the game 7. And Anthony Edwards puts up 37, KG 27, 12 and 10, and Julius Randle 20. Then out east, the Celtics end up eliminating the 76ers. Tatum with 33, Bird with 30, Jaylen Brown with 20. And they tried. They had some good scoring, but just could not play defense, letting up 149 points in this game. And our finals will be the Timberwolves versus the Celtics. Both of these teams, I thought were pretty good. It makes sense that they're here. But it's time to see who's going to take it all. Game 1 goes to the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards puts up 32 points. Jason Tatum puts up 39, 5 and 5. Larry Bird puts up 29, 7 and 9, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Was not enough. Game 2 goes to the Celtics. A big game for the big 3. But there was a bigger game for the big 2. Game 3 ends up also going to the Celtics. That's back-to-back. Look at these scoring performances we're getting. 27 for Tatum, 26 for Brown, and 26, 10, and 11 for Larry Bird. And the Timberwolves put up 26 and 10 and 7 with KG, 25, 5 and 5 on Randle, and 19, 3 and 5 with Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves, this is pretty much a must-win. And the Celtics are going to go up 3-1. Tatum with 32. KG put up 45, 14, 2 steals, 2 assists. Wasn't enough. Is this going to be the last game, or will the Timberwolves manage to keep the series going? They lose the first quarter, but with a very good second quarter gets the lead. Looks like it might be close. The Timberwolves are up by a good amount. And the Timberwolves will be forcing a game 6. Anthony Edwards puts up 45 in that game. Can they force a game 7? They're in Boston. If the Timberwolves win this game, they'll be going back to Minnesota. It's a pretty close one here. Now it's not. The Timberwolves are blowing them out. And it looks like they're going to be keeping the lead, and they're going to be forcing a game 7. Anthony Edwards with 47 points. Game 7 in Minnesota. Can the Timberwolves come back from down 3-1? They lose the first quarter. They come back. It's tied 60-60 with 2 minutes left before halftime. And it's a pretty close one. We might have a game to jump into. The Timberwolves come out with an amazing third quarter. They win the third quarter by almost 20 points. Actually, they got the 20 points. And now they have a big lead. They just have to keep it going. And it looks like they are going to get it done. The Timberwolves win 72 in 10 games. And they also will be coming back down 3-1. And here is the award ceremony. No KG on the stage. Dante ends up getting a ring. Julius Randle ends up getting a ring. And let's see who wins the Finals MVP. Even though I think the last time we did it, it ended up not actually being the Finals MVP. But we'll see who they give it to here. Oh, never mind. They don't even show the award ceremony. But KG drops 41, 16, and 6. Anthony Edwards with 39. And the Celtics ended up having 29 from Tatum, 26, 12, and 10 from Larry Bird. But it just was not enough. Let's see who wins the Finals MVP. It ends up going to KG, putting up 26, putting up 27 a game, 12 rebounds, 5.5 assists, a steal and a half, and almost 2 blocks. So there we go. We figured out which team would be the best if we added their best player onto the team. If you guys did end up enjoying the video, make sure you guys subscribe. We're almost to 70 subscribers. If everyone who watches this video subscribes right now, we can hit 70 so fast, and I'll see you guys in the next one.